are with Tia Keenan, cheese expert and author of the new book, The Art of the Cheese Plate. Thank you so much for being here and sharing some of the advice from your beautiful new book.
Thank you for having me.
So today we're going to sort of bring the book alive, even though it is so alive in the photos in the book, and talk about how to spice up your cheese plate a little bit. Because I think for a lot of people, they sort of get into this mode of like, all right, I've just put a bunch of cheese on the plate and then I'm done. And what's wrong with that notion?
Well, first of all, you can never be wrong if you're eating cheese, right? So we're just gonna be more right.
We're gonna make it even better. Make cheese even better. If you even thought that was possible.
We're gonna make cheese great again.
Yeah. Absolutely.
So one of the format of the book is that we're making individual cheese plates. So these are a little different from your sort of buffet style, everyone attack the cheese board type of situation. And in the book, I encourage people when they're entertaining to go the extra step of doing individually plated cheese plates that you would introduce into a meal as a course. For this cheese plate, we're working with all French cheeses because we're at the French cheese board today. And I focused on bought condiments. One of the elements of my book is that I have plenty of recipes for homemade condiments, but I also include a lot of purchased condiments with buying notes and guides because I wanted people to understand that you don't have to slave away to make a great cheese plate. So we're gonna go mildest to strongest. I love for a seated plated cheese course, 5 cheeses. You can go a little bit smaller on the portions, a little bit bigger, depending on where it falls in the meal. And then I think it's really important when you're looking at condiments to think about texture. So I like to have something smooth, like a jelly, but I also want to have something crunchy. And they go especially well with harder cheeses. You want to either contrast or complement. So if you have something like this brie that's creamy and relatively mild, I went with a cranberry butter, which is smooth like the cheese, but really tangy. So that's a contrasting pairing. With the Osaurati, which is an aged sheep's milk cheese that has a very caramel sort of scorched milk flavors, I went with some wet walnuts. Those are walnuts that I just cooked in a little bit of maple syrup. And it's just a way to take some nuts and make them a little bit more special. This is mimolette, which is a hard cow's milk cheese. I made a pumpkin seed brittle. It's neat on a cheese plate to try a different kind of brittle.
Right, so you can make it or buy it kind of depending how involved you want to get.
Sure. And then we have some époisse, which is a washed cow's milk cheese, a little bit stinky. Most people, if they like stinky cheese, love this cheese. I serve that just with some vegetable chips. It's kind of like a chips and dip, which I think is
very
fun.
Fancy, delicious chips and dip.
Sure. And then the last cheese is a Bleu d'Auvergne, and I love blue cheese and chocolate. In this case, we have some chocolate-covered almonds, but I think the only rule for me with blue cheese and chocolate is that it be dark chocolate. You really want to watch your portions, you know? So you want, if you're gonna serve, it's typical on a cheese plate to serve an ounce of each cheese. You want to serve a half ounce of the condiment.
This cheese plate is great for its variety. One of the nice things about your book is sometimes you sort of will have themes, you'll have, if you want all hard cheeses, how do you approach that with the condiments if you're going sort of totally in one direction or the other?
Right, well, I think, the standard instruction for making a cheese plate is, pick contrast, pick one cheese from each milk group, and that's certainly a very good formula. But I talk a lot in the book about going for other themes. I have an entry in the book that's all cheddar. If you're gonna stick within a theme for the cheeses, I think it's really fun on a cheese plate to then make sure that the condiments that you pair with those cheeses are all really different. So I like to offer a range of make sure that I have something that's savory, something that's sweet, something that's pickled, something that's hard, something that's soft. Because that's a real way that when you're dealing with cheeses that are maybe more similar, it's a way to differentiate each composition.
I was gonna say, one of the things that I love about your book is that every cheese plate, it's a different plate, it's a different design, it's, under the plate is a different texture. How do you think also about not just pairing the flavors, but visually pairing? Because a cheese plate, the visual aspect of it is so important as well.
Yeah, the visual aspect is really important. I think you need to think about that in terms of the cheeses themselves and then the condiments you pair them with. And then I think we should think about context and how we're serving the cheese. It's really, slates and wood boards are really great, but there's no rules that say you have to serve cheese on that. And one of the things that was really fun for me in the book was using all this like vintage stuff that I got from my grandmother and using things that were meaningful to me and also beautiful.
And for people who get nervous about sort of, oh, I don't want to do the wrong thing, or I don't want people to think I don't know what I'm doing, what is your advice? Because the book is so freeing, I think.
To me, the perfect pairing is the pairing that you like. If you enjoyed something, then I would never tell you that that was wrong. It may not be my cup of tea, but if you like something, then you should eat it. The worst thing that can happen if you experiment with a pairing is that it's not going to taste good. You never have to eat it again. No wars are going to be fought. No one's going to lose their life. It's not going to be some big tragedy. And I think in the spirit of experimentation, you gain a lot, even if in that application you have somewhat of a failure.
Right.
So I think people should just go for it, and most likely you're going to have more successes than you're going to have failures, I think.
Wonderful. Well, Tia, thank you so much for giving us the confidence to brighten up our cheese plates and make them a little more exciting. And obviously, if you want to know more, you can always pick up the book. It's such a beautiful book. Thank you so much for being here.
Thanks so much, Allie.